We are usually free to pan instruments as we consider it right, only following some guidelines. But what do we do with real drums? Hi plugin generation, this is Mirko Russo from ClangLab.com. When it comes to the advantages of using virtual instruments in a home studio, the list is very long, especially if we consider very loud instruments such as drums, of course. And even in the rock world, we might feel very pleased to know that we have a really nice drum kit just pressing some buttons or some pads. But what if we hire a real drummer or we need to mix some real drums for a client? In this case, hopefully, you will have a bunch of tracks of two types. The closed mics, that would be really close to the pieces of the drum kit, and the overheads above, and the room mics. So to let you get the idea, a closed mic would be like this. So this is the outside of a kick. This is the inside, so you will hear a lot the beater of the kick. This is the snare top. The bottom. Also on some cymbals, especially the hi-hat and the ride, you will usually have a dedicated mic. Okay, and then you also have the overheads and the room mics. So these two will be the overheads. You read here the left while it is panned right because it was named after the perspective of the drummer. And this is the overheads together with the room mics. So the overhead mics and the room mics contain all the information you need to apply the proper pan pot choices to the individual tracks. Because if you listen to it carefully, you have all the information from left to right that you have to follow afterwards. So you can distinctly hear the right towards left, the hi-hat towards right, the toms from the high pitch to the low pitch from right to left, and so on. So on the closed mic, you cannot just arbitrarily collocate the instruments from left to right. You have to make them coherent with what you hear in the overhead and room mics. For instance, you have the hi-hat here. So you cannot, in this case, just put it in this way to the right. Okay, because it will be not coherent to what you hear on the overheads. Okay, this is without hearing the hi-hat track. And this is with. So in this case, it is too far in the right. So this is not right because you have to check what you hear, what you listen to in the overheads from left to right, and you have to replicate in the individual tracks. So when you hear that there is a correspondence from what you hear in the overheads and the room mics and the individual tracks, you have done a nice job with the pan pots of the individual tracks. So now let's try to do the same thing to the right. That will be a little bit on the left. So let's listen to the room and overhead mics. Okay, now the ride is placed in the center. And let's try to match it with what we hear on the room mics and overheads. Okay, so now hi-hat, the right hi-hat actually, and the ride have been panned accordingly to the overhead and room mics. Okay, now let's try to do the same on toms, starting from the smaller one, the 8 inches tom. It is a little bit on the right, so let's listen to the room and overhead mics. So the first one, that is the 8 inches tom. Again, let's try to match it. And the 8 inches, the second one playing here. The third one, the 12 inches. So you have to imagine, if you carefully listen to what you have here in the stereo image and place the toms, in this case, from right to left. So this is what I have got at the end of the processing of this pan pot processing. Again, if you want to relate with overhead and room mics, here it is, just listening to those mics. And again, the whole drums bass. So let me know down in the comments what do you think about this video I've made for you. Thank you for watching, as always. The drums in this clip were recorded by Edo Sala, so thanks also to him. And if you want to support my channel Of course, you can subscribe to the channel. There is also a link down below for my Patreon page if you want to support me buying me a coffee, for instance. And this is it, so see you in the next video. Bye!